Well, good morning all, hope you're okay. This is really strange, isn't it? I do hope that things go back to normal soon, because actually, if you're looking at my hair, I actually do need a bit of a haircut. I might have to think about doing it myself, because I'm looking a bit like a crazy professor. Right, the story that I'm going to read every day, and this is our class story, is going to be a Pilgrim's Progress, which is a very old story, but this is a return, and I found this in a charity shop. And what I loved about this was the pictures, the art, and it's amazing. So I will be showing the pictures as they come through. Okay. So, The Great Escape, in which I dream of Christian, and Christian dreams of escape. I had a dream last night. Like moonlight through the window of my cell, it fell on me. Not so big as to fill one night, large enough to fill the rest of my life. I dreamed that I saw myself. No, someone very like me. A man. He was standing at his garden gate, bent under the weight of a great knapsack, and in his hand was a guidebook. Had someone passing the gate thrust the book into his hand? I don't know. Dreams never start at the beginning. Plainly, he had never opened the book until now. As he read, all the colour drained from his face. A ghastly, clammy terror made him sweat. I know it. I felt it in my own palms. He wept too, and shook like a rainy willow tree. The breath sobbed in his throat, louder and louder, till he clapped the book shut and hugged it to his chest, rocking to and fro in agonies of fright. Then, turning his face upwards towards the sky, he howled, "What am I going to do?" He struggled to take off the knapsack, but it seemed so tightly strapped to his shoulders that he could not be free of it, and yet I sensed that it was new to him. He had only been wearing it for as long as he had been holding the book in his hands. In his agitation, he rushed indoors, seized hold of his mother, who was stringing beans, and spun her round. "We must get out of here," he panted. "We must, we must." "Christian, what is it, dear? What's the matter? Why are you wearing that bag?" But when he saw her tired, anxious face, and how his father looked up and startled from eating, Christian could not bear to strike the same fear into them as he himself felt. He had to keep the terrible news to himself, a secret pent up inside him. It burned in there like a fever. It grew inside him like a pain, until his face ran with sweat and he struck out at the furniture with his fists. "Is that any way to carry on?" said his mother, struggling in vain to pull the knapsack off his shoulders. "Whatever's the matter with you? Calm down." Christian went to bed that night, but the ceiling over him seemed scrawled with nightmares. His brain scolded by dreadful thoughts. He tossed and moaned and rent the bedclothes so that his neighbours beyond the wall thought he must be dying. "No wonder you can't sleep, boy," grumbled his father, poking his head round the door. "Look at you wearing that great silly packing bed. Take it off, can't you? Anyone would think that you were making ready for a journey, not a night's sleep." His mother came to the doorway too, bleary-faced, woken by the noise. So at last, Christian decided he must share it with them. Share the appalling contents of the book. He had them sit down on the end of the bed and explained as gently as possible. "We have to leave here. We have to get out. This city, this hole everywhere, our home, everybody living hereabouts, it's all going to be destroyed. A terrible destruction is coming. I don't know when exactly, but soon. We have to go somewhere. I'm not sure where yet or how to get there, but we have to." His father harumphed and scowled. "Is this a joke?" "Hush, Christian dear," said his mother, soothingly patting his hand. "You're not well. You get some sleep. You'll feel better in the morning." And they treated him as if he were ill, as if fever would make him hallucinate. They confined him to bed, where he lay weeping and groaning with helpless frustration. The neighbours came to peer in at the windows, concerned or simply nosy. When he did not get any better, his friends and relations tried to make him see sense by shouting at him, laughing at him, ignoring him, and Christian withdrew into himself, more lonely and terrified than a man marooned on a raft at sea. In the end, he found it better to roam the fields with only the rain for company and the contemptuous hiss of wet grass. At least there he could cry out loud from time to time, "What must I do to be saved?" Several times he set off to run, but, not knowing which way to run, his steps petered to a halt. Then, one day, a stranger came up to him in the fields, a clerical man to judge by the white tabs of his cravat, and asked what the matter was. Christian tried to steady himself so as not to appear a lunatic. "I have read, sir, in this book, that I am condemned to die." The stranger shrugged. as if this were an everyday occurrence. Utterly unremarkable. Well, what's so terrible about that? Was his response. An end to life's hardship, surely. Christian brandished the book under his nose. But it says here I should have to account for my life. The kind of man I am, the state of my soul. I'm not ready or not fit. In that case, said the preacher, I'd run if I were you. And he gave Christian a parchment scroll which, when opened, simply read, Run for your life. Run where? Said Christian weakly. To the City of Gold, naturally. Haven't you read about it in the guidebook? I never got past the first chapter, Christian admitted sheepishly. The part about the destruction of this city here and me. Oh, read on, sir. Do read on. At your leisure, said the preacher, his stern face betraying at least a certain amused twinkle behind his eyes. Pilgrims are setting off every day for the City of Gold. Who wouldn't want to go there? Perpetual bliss, sublime happiness, everlasting life. I'm bound there myself in good time, but, of course, I have work to do first. You, on the other hand, haven't a moment to lose. I can't guarantee you will survive the journey. It's no afternoon stroll, but then you won't be any worse off, will you? Yeah, there's the first picture. Like I say, they're beautiful pictures, lovely illustrations. And even if you fail, the City of Gold will not. Its walls will never crumble, and its delights are enough to satisfy the hungriest traveller. Don't lose that scroll, mind. Without it, you will not be allowed in. What? You still here? But, which way must I? Stammered Christian. Preacher pointed across the fields. You see that little white wicket gate? Christian tried to see. He tried so hard that his feet lifted off the ground. No, I don't see a thing. Well then, do you see that light shining? I think so. Go straight towards it. By and by you'll reach the gate. Knock. Someone will point you the way to go. As he spoke, Preacher tucked his fingers into the front of Christian's dishevelled coat. Christian thought he must be helping himself at the price of a meal from Christian's wallet. In fact, he was pushing something into it instead. A key. You may need it. Then he turned away. Christian began to run, haltingly at first, glancing back over his shoulder, and then fixing his eye on the glimmer, like the sunlight on a cottage window, and running towards it, his rucksack banging up and down, the parchment scroll gripped in his fist like a runner's baton. Past the outlying houses of the city he ran, catching the eye of various neighbours out in their gardens. Some called out, some grinned and twirled their fingers behind their foreheads. Look, there goes crack-brained Christian. Two actually took to their heels and ran alongside him, asking where he was off to. Who was chasing him? He found Obstinate puffing along on his right, Mr. Bendy on his left, both playing him with questions. Christian panted at his dreadful news. Destruction? The end? Condemned? And now that he knew where to head, he felt honour bound to urge them. Come with me. What, and leave our homes and families? Everything dear to us? Snorted Obstinate. Yes, what good are any of these things to a dead man? Well, have you got anything better to offer? Asked Ob. Yes, safety, happiness, endless wonders. He could not keep this pace. He would have to slow down. Sounds good to me, said Mr. Bendy. Tell me more. So Christian told him, showed him the guidebook and the scroll, wildly excited about the good things in store rather than dwelling on the fear he had left behind. His excitement was infectious. Mr. Bendy's eyes began to shine with the same eagerness, but Obstinate was not so quick to change the thinking of a lifetime. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean to say, has he ever been to this golden city? What does he know, blast him? How far is he going to get with that pack on his back? He's pipe dreaming. It's a nonsense. Give up everything I know and love for some harebrained scheme? No fear. You take my word, Bendy. Christian is leading you astray. Don't you listen to him. And, like a man with his belt caught around the bedpost, Obstinate slowed suddenly and stopped, retracing his footsteps towards the city of destruction. But Mr. Bendy was content to go on jogging alongside Christian. After days of being shunned and lonely, having company lifted Christian's spirits enormously. And if he squinted up his eyes and peered, he could almost persuade himself he saw the little white wicker gate. The land ahead was green, as emerald green as the back of a toad, against the darker fields and forests. The soil under their feet was springy and damp, spongy, quaggy even. But Christian and Benny were running at such a pace that, by the time they realised the truth, they had already gone too far. They were already knee-deep and staggering, pitching and plunging, the bog's mud sucking at their boots, the ooze slopping in over their boot tops, sucking hungrily at their thighs, dragging them in deeper and down. What is going to happen to Christian and Bendy? Can you think of what may happen? Post it in the comments below. That's chapter 1. Chapter 2 tomorrow. Thanks for listening.